Hello everybody, and welcome back to the Salt Lake City Snowhawks expansion franchise here on Madden 25. We are defending Super Bowl champions after securing Super Bowl 63, as we're now here against the AFC favorites in the Baltimore Ravens, opening on Thursday Night Football, as we're reigning world champions for the first time in this expansion franchise. It took only 5 years, and now a big target on our back as we're looking to go back-to-back in the final run of this expansion franchise. We're going to pack it up after this year 6 season and move on to a new team, a new series for Madden 27, but not before one final run here with Lucas McDonald, who has turned out to be an all-time franchise-type quarterback despite only playing 4 or 5 seasons to this point. He is a tremendous quarterback, and we got very lucky selecting him back in the year 1 offseason as the first selection of this expansion franchise. It makes so much of a difference when you hit on that quarterback, as we're now underway here in year 6 of this expansion franchise with the last run. And I hope you come along for the ride and come along for the new series on Madden 27, as we'll unveil a new expansion team, but not before having to shut down here Lamar Jackson, the Super Bowl champions, back from year 1 of this franchise, has become full circle here with the first champion and the latest champion of this franchise. But as we said, the Ravens, the AFC favorite, led by Lamar Jackson, who is vying for an MVP trophy along with Lucas McDonald, who finished 3rd in the voting last season. Baltimore starting at the 25 as Lamar Jackson from the pocket for the first time. A quick one there as he has a man up the sideline, and that's a big gain for 21 yards. And that's Spence, one of the reserve receivers on this team, I believe. They are led by Zay Flowers and Rashad Bateman, also Travis Weldon, now a 5th-year tight end out of Texas, who they signed to a 3-4-year extension. And they'll give for Keaton Mitchell for the first time, no gain. And Keaton Mitchell, a former Snowhawk going back to year 2, he recorded 1 carry and 1 reception in that season. And that was all he showed over the course of his Snowhawks career. Now the starting man here in Baltimore a little bit later on. And now they try and set up a screen there, but no gain again, as it'll bring up a 3rd and 8 at the 48. Jackson from the shotgun. Over 8,800 rushing yards now as a quarterback, most all time, as he swings that to the sideline. He's picked off by Dakota Michaels, the 2nd-year slot corner out of Texas Tech. A natural safety, but we converted him more to a slot corner, as he did showcase that ability at the college level. And now the first series of his sophomore season, he's there to pick off Lamar Jackson as we're celebrating here. Spirits are high as we come back home to defend our title. And not a good throw there from Lamar Jackson. Kind of telegraphed it there to James Hobbs, the 4th-year former first-round receiver out of LSU, as we see Lucas McDonald trotting onto the field for the first time, set to defend this Super Bowl championship that we claimed this past season. 93 overall now, 93 speed, and he's making over $50 million after we exercised that 5th-year option on him, as he's going to have good starting field position here already in Ravens territory. Tank Bigsby is the back again this season. Mark Andrews still the tight end now here against his former team. And McDonald, that one gets away from him. I thought that one might go for an interception, but instead it harmlessly hits the turf. And we'll see number 85 there at the bottom of the offensive line. Roosevelt Howell picking up a block there. The 3rd-round pick out of Ohio State. And Daniel Weary, former 1st-round pick out of Oklahoma State, the top corner selected in the 2028 NFL Draft, going back a couple of off seasons ago. Now here, 3rd and 9. 4-man rusher of the Ravens. McDonald going to have a man there at the sideline. That's Drew Collins, the 3rd-year former 3rd-round pick out of Texas A&M. His first year as the starter, as he's filling in there for Dontavion Wicks, who moved on in free agency. As he's going to occupy the slot, putting Carlos Alvarez to the outside now, as he was last year's Offensive Player of the Year. And that one downfield again for Collins into double coverage, knocked down by the NFL's best safety in Kyle Hamilton. Now here's 2nd down at the 28. At least we're now into field goal range as we go trips left. Mark Andrews, tight end to the right, will go for Tank Bigsby on the ground. A big stop there, as that was Cade Moreland struggling to hold up in run blocking, one of the top young offensive guards in the game. And now on 3rd and 10, McDonald out of the shotgun, Tank Bigsby to his left. They're going to send some pressure here and trying to set up a screen. No time to do so, and they get the quarterback hit there. Pressure broken almost immediately, and we're going to have to fix that as we go on, but we're going to bring out Will Reichert for the 45-yard field goal from the left hash to give us this early lead in this Week 1 matchup. The kick up. And the kick is good as our Snowhawks on the board as we get points off the turnover at least. Not the best offensive showing to start, but we'll take points and the lead here early on. Jackson back out onto the field after our first series interception. Definitely not the way you want to start the season. But as we were saying last drive, over 8,800 rushing yards, most all time as a quarterback with 88 rushing touchdowns. But Josh Allen still does have more with 97 at this point in the franchise. Now back for Keaton Mitchell, and he'll be brought down, no gain. And that was offseason addition Travon Walker on the stop, former first overall pick from the Jacksonville Jaguars. We gave them a pair of second-round picks, an offensive tackle, and we brought him to Salt Lake City. Now going to make up a very good tandem at D-end, along with last year's Defensive Rookie of the Year in Taylor Goddard, number 50 there at the top of the defensive line. Now third and short, they go to the ground game for Keaton Mitchell, and he gets the necessary yardage before being stopped by Quay Walker. The Snowhawks are without starting strong safety Matthew Torrance, also their captain there in the back end, as Malik Mustafa going to get the start here in week 1 of our title defense. Lamar Jackson off the keep there, and he'll be hit hard by Taylor Goddard, the second-year man, former first-round pick out of Tennessee. It was him and Dakota Michaels. They were both first-round picks in that same draft, and both making early impacts in this week 1 affair. As Taylor Goddard a huge hit there on a 5-yard loss. And of course Dakota Michaels, that opening drive interception. And now Baltimore going to move and bring him back 5. The crowd now starting to get to the Ravens as they're now out of sync. 2nd and 20, backed up to the 31. Man in motion, the fake there for Mitchell. Lamar Jackson now going to just fire down the field. It's a man there at the sideline that's hauled in by Travis Weldon, the aforementioned tight end out of Texas, former third-round pick. He was the 32nd pick in the 3rd round of that draft, the year the Ravens won the Super Bowl back in year 1. And after 4 very good seasons, they signed him to a contract extension as he's solidified himself as maybe the best young tight end in football, as he led the NFL with 119 catches last season. Now a redirection there from Mitchell as he read that one well, gets 5. And it was Travis Weldon who kept Carlos Alvarez, our receiver, from winning a Triple Crown last year. Alvarez led in receiving yards and touchdowns, but Weldon had like 3 more catches than him, as Alvarez just barely missed out on that accomplishment. And now Lamar Jackson off the keep as he gets no gain. At least he wasn't rocked again, though, off the edge there by Taylor Goddard. I think he'll take that result. And now Jackson on 3rd down, going to roll to his left now as he cannot outrun Caleb Patton there in pursuit. And we'll see Travon Walker already a little shaken up. And that's not what we want to see from our big offseason acquisition. Puts the helmet off. Tank Bigsby, former teammate there in Jacksonville, consoling him a little bit. And now they're going to go for it here on 4th and 2 at the 32, not going for the tie. They're trying to keep this drive going. Lamar will give for Keaton Mitchell, and again he gets a hole, and he will be stopped by Malik Mustafa, but not before getting the 1st down. Overall-wise, Mitchell might be one of the bottom-tier running backs in the NFL, but here in a revenge game against us, he has all that much more motivation. Now they fake it to him again here on 1st down at the 25. They'll dump it off to him, though, as he'll be hit there by Nathan Scruggs, Quay Walker, a 3-yard gain. Dom Gilmore now checks in at left end in place of Travon Walker, former 5th-round pick out of UTEP. And now Lamar Jackson going to be hit hard for the first time and brought down for a sack. That is Randy Fisher. He now occupies a starting role at D-tackle on our defensive line, alongside there with Caleb Patton. As we franchise tag Patton, and Fisher now hitting his 2nd year out of UCLA, a 2nd-round pick in that same draft when we got Taylor Goddard and Dakota Michaels. So all 3 of those defensive 2nd-year players making an impact, and another sack there. We sent the blitz, and that's Jerry Sexton, a 3rd-round pick from our inaugural defensive class, a captain there at linebacker. And Lamar Jackson maybe a little shaken up, but still able to get up under his own power and just held out to dry there as Jerry Sexton, 90 speed from the linebacker position. Oftentimes on those free blitzes, he will get home, even if it is Lamar Jackson he's going up against. And now they're not going to go for the long field goal. Instead, going to bring on the punt team as our defense holds up. We'll watch one more drive on the offensive side of things and then maybe sim a lot of the 2nd quarter as Lucas McDonald trying to get a little bit more than a field goal, as we did get points, and we're happy with that as we now have a lead as our defense is holding up. Some big plays there to force the Ravens back in some instances. Now 1st down taken over at the 16. Vince Willis is the pass catching back, as he does get his 1st give of the year, and he'll take that up for 2. 2nd and 8 at the 19. Mark Andrews there in motion. Clock winding down. McDonald takes the snap from the pocket, now rolling to the left And so he'll try his hand here at running and trying to impersonate Lamar Jackson a little bit as he gets 2 yards. But we know McDonald very threatening as a runner, as I think he was our second leading rusher last season, and then going back to the year 4 season was our leading rusher that year. So we'll dump that out to the sideline for Mark Andrews. Just doesn't get enough for the first down, working there against Daniel Weary, the 6'3" rangy cornerback out of Oklahoma State, the top cornerback selected in the 2028 draft, that being in the year 4 offseason. Now here, fresh set, McDonald over the middle. That one knocked down at the line. Intended target was Andrews. Roosevelt Howell checks in at tight end again here, along with Mark Andrews, as we go for Tank Bigsby, trying to work it to the outside. Nothing doing as he gets a loss. Now 3rd and 11, backed up off that run. McDonald now backtracking in the pocket, trying to roll to the right, and he will not go anywhere but backwards. And now we have to punt here from the 17-yard line. Here, the final seconds of this first quarter of week 1 of the year 6 season. Going to be fair caught at the 37. So now we are going to take back to the sim, or not take back to it, but take to it for the first time in this game in this season. As a 2nd and 12 now to start the second quarter. It looks like we had a good play there defensively. Now 3rd and 12 after an incompletion, as we do get the stop there. 4th and 7 at the 40. You got to figure they're going to punt as they do. All the way down to the 1-yard line. Tommy Townsend pins us back, and we'll see how the offense responds now as we get no gain on that rush to Tank Bigsby. So still here backed up at our own goal line. We get a safety minus 3-yard rush from Manny Reynolds, and it's a 3-2 ball game here from Snowhawks Stadium. Just how you draw it up in week 1 of this season. Can't believe that. So the good punt from Tommy Townsend leads to points. You got to give him an assist on that. Now a 3rd and 5 for Baltimore, and they get a sack. That's Kyle Calhoun, a free agent addition who made the roster after a 3-sack preseason. After the departure of Trayvon Walker, he's splitting snaps there with Dom Gilmore, and he makes an early impact already. The 2nd sack for our defense, and Tommy Townsend again will pin us back now at the 2-yard line. And don't tell me they're going to double up, as Manny Reynolds this time does get 5, some more breathing room. And we get -3, so a 3rd and 7 at the 5-yard line, and we go incomplete. So forced to punt now from our own 5-yard line, and that's a boomer from Logan Cook, 69 yards. And now they're taking over at the 30 as we salvage some decent field position there. Baltimore had some potential to take over in much better territory. Now 3rd and 1, and we get the knockaway there. Nathan Scruggs the pass deflection, as they are going to have to punt again. This time we will get the touchback though, and we'll just keep to the sim here in this 3-2 ball game. 3-yard rush from Bigsby. 2nd and 7, we get 17 yards, the first catch of the year for Marvin Harrison Jr. 6 yards for Tank Bigsby. 2nd and 4, and we get 5 yards. Now a fresh set into Ravens territory. 3 yards for Drew Collins, his 2nd catch into the final 5 minutes of this first half. 16 yards for Harrison Jr., his 2nd catch, and now 11, make it 3 catches now on this drive. 6-yard rush for Tank Bigsby. Kyle Hamilton knocks away a pass, so 3rd and 4 at the 13, and we got a touchdown. It glitched out because we had the 2-minute warning, but looking at the play history, it was a 13-yard touchdown for Marvin Harrison Jr. as he just torched Baltimore on that drive. So we make it a 10-2 game now here into the final 2 minutes of the first half. We'll watch this final 2-minute drill from Lamar Jackson in Baltimore. As you know, if any quarterback can get them down the field that quickly, Lamar Jackson is definitely one of those guys, despite somewhat of a poor showing so far to start this year 6 season, but 155 to work with. 3 timeouts, a touchdown, and a 2-point conversion. You're all knotted up here. And now they do take the snap, being a little deliberate and patient, and that's into the hands of Malik Mustafa. Again, just starting in place of the injured Matthew Torrance, as he knocks that one away. Maybe could have hauled that in for an interception, but not the case. 2nd down now at the 28. Lamar Jackson again being a little patient pre-snap, and he will give for Keaton Mitchell, and he's met there in the run lane by Quay Walker, and Jerry Sexton brought down after a 3-yard gain. Brings up a 3rd and 7 as we hit the minute 30 mark in the first half of play. Lamar Jackson, some time in the pocket, will step up and run as he's met there by a Snowhawks defender, but not before getting the first down. As he does extend this drive, the Ravens call their first timeout. Now up to the 39. Kyle Calhoun there checks back into the game at left end. He does drop back into coverage this time, though, as we sent a blitz from the linebacker spot there, Jerry Sexton, but Lamar Jackson forced to throw it away. 2nd and 10, 1:20 now left in this second quarter. Man motions there across the line, followed by Terrion Arnold. Jackson takes the snap from the pocket, throws that over the middle for Rashad Bateman, and that is hauled in for an 8-yard gain. Going to bring up 3rd and 2, and the clock does continue to run. Now 1 minute left in this first half. Jackson again from the pocket, a quick one, as that was intended for maybe Zay Flowers, but Nathan Scruggs in the vicinity, as that is going to force on the punt team yet again here for Baltimore. Their offense, nothing to show for their efforts, but the defense and Tommy Townsend, they have 2 points. And Townsend, is that going to be knocked in? No, it is going to go for a touchback. I thought he was about to corner us again. And with 50 seconds left, all their timeouts taken over at the 20, can Lucas McDonald lead a quick scoring drive and extend this lead, making a 2-possession game going into halftime, as we are also set to get the ball. McDonald from the pocket for Mark Andrews, but a short gain. Not sure if that's worth it. Tackled by Roquan Smith, the 2nd-ranked linebacker in the league behind Fred Warner. Now out there empty, McDonald over the middle, and that's going to be knocked down by Roquan Smith, who we were just talking about. Carlos Alvarez, the intended target, the reigning offensive player of the year, still without a catch in this game. Now 3rd and 7. The clock has stopped, of course, after the incompletion. Mark Andrews there, the man in motion. McDonald takes the snap. Good blitz pickup there, and again, thrown into traffic, knocked down. And now the final couple minutes of this first half of play dragging on, and Logan Cook kind of mishandled it there, but able to get it off before a block, and that one a good one, as that goes down all the way to the 31 for Baltimore, a fair catch, and they'll see now just 33 seconds to work with if Lamar Jackson can work some magic. 2 timeouts, 33 ticks on the clock, and not much to show for their efforts thus far. 2 sacks for the Snowhawks defense, and interception, and we've held up quite well against the run. Now Jackson from the 25, as he'll fling that to the sideline. That's hauled in, breaking a tackle, showing some acrobatics there as Rashad Bateman, a big catch there through contest, as he comes down there, a physical grab, and that moves Baltimore to the 50. They burn their 2nd timeout, just 1 remaining, as they will fake it there for Keaton Mitchell. Lamar Jackson now trying to figure out what to do. He will step up and run, brought down by Jerry Sexton, and the clock continuing to run as now into the final 5 seconds. They will call a timeout from the 47, so maybe just one last-ditch effort to chuck it down the field and hopefully complete a Hail Mary. Jackson now just a 3-man rush for Salt Lake City. Patton was getting home towards the quarterback. Jackson to the end zone, and that's knocked down, I believe, by Nathan Scruggs, which does now bring us into the halftime report, and a really underwhelming showing to start for both sides. It was 3-2 there for quite a while before Marvin Harrison Jr. took control of the game with like 4 catches on that single drive for like 50 yards, a touchdown score, as he led us to pay dirt, and we are now in the lead 10-2 at halftime. And then we see a slate around the NFL. Of course, we're kicking things off here in this Year 6 2029 NFL season, as the defending champions often do here on Thursday Night Football, hosting the Baltimore Ravens, an AFC favorite, and we are taking it to them thus far. Not much generated by Lamar Jackson in the offense. Zay Flowers, I don't think, has any catches. Travis Weldon, the standout tight end, maybe just 1 catch so far. And you see that the Sunday Night Football matchup is Green Bay at Los Angeles, 2 playoff teams from last year, and the Rams finished with a similar 13-4 record as we did, but still ended up with that 5th seed as we held the tiebreaker and as we swept the season series from them, and looked to carry that into this season as we were dominant not only in the NFL last season but also in division. But now we have to get through this Thursday Night Football game against Baltimore and finish out this second half strong, as we are starting with the ball. 10-2 lead for the Snowhawks. Let's put some more on, and that's Jerry Hardison, 5th-round pick out of Georgia. He ran a 4.24, straight up Olympian, had very good vertical jump, great traits elsewhere, and he was a potential undrafted free agent. We took a flyer on him on day 3, definitely hit, as we think we have a potential game breaker down the line. Eddie Matthews, number 19 on the field, 6'6", 210 out of Oklahoma State. McDonald going deep down the field, and that one out of bounds, out of the reach of Carlos Alvarez. We're still trying to get Alvarez involved. 6'3", 230 pounds, and very athletic at the receiver position. The complete package, and off the play fake, Isaac getting home as McDonald brought down for another sack, as we're going back and forth here in the sack battle. And McDonald now backed up 3rd and 16, out there empty. A little bit more time to throw this time. Rolling to the right. We'll just keep it, though. A lot of room to go as he does not get the first down. You see Carlos Alvarez there jawing it up with Nate Wiggins, now a longtime Baltimore Raven, as we are forced to punt here. 3 and out on the opening drive of the second half. Logan Cook has had a pretty good day back there And it was also very good last season, brought him back on a 1-year contract. That one all the way down to the 18-yard line, or 19 make it, as it's fair caught again. And Lamar Jackson trying to get something going offensively. He's been sacked a couple times, picked off, and no points yet for this Baltimore Ravens offense. And now coming out with a heavy line, man in motion. As he goes to the bottom of the screen, Jackson takes the snap. Over the middle, that's caught by Travis Weldon, the standout tight end we were talking about out of Texas. We were hoping he was going to hit the open market. We would definitely make a run at him, but he's elected to stay here in Baltimore after a lot of success with the team. And now another quick decision up the sideline. Keaton Mitchell catch that in stride and get off me, Quay Walker, and showing some supreme toughness, and not really known for that characteristic, that trait, but that time showcasing it all the way as he caught that in stride, made a man miss, and shoved Quay Walker off him, and that's not easy to do. Walker, a very good tackler, but Mitchell getting the best of his former teammate that time. And now Jackson, a fake there for Mitchell, and Quay Walker gets some revenge there, the first hit, and it's going to be cleaned up by a teammate there. I didn't see who was there on the final sack, but Quay Walker now talking trash after missing that tackle, but this time getting home for that first stop as a team. I think that might have been Trayvon Walker back into the game, who was there to wrap up that first sack as a Snowhawk. Or it could have been Kyle Calhoun, but it looks like Walker is back out there. And then Taylor Goddard coming from the blind side and smacking Lamar Jackson. What a hit. And Goddard 14 sacks as a rookie, adding one already to his sophomore campaign. My goodness. Coming with the speed and the velocity and the strength, and this time trying to dump it off. And Dakota Michaels is there. Trayvon Walker is there. Number 43, number 44 teaming up as we're going to force the punt. The defense is just flying all over the field, and Lamar Jackson does not have an answer this time, just telegraphing that there. Lucky, someone didn't undercut that. Dakota Michaels going for number 2 maybe, as our defense, dominant performance thus far. And we'll probably sim another drive aside here, working into the fourth quarter, and then probably watch the remainder. Hopefully we get a return here, though. And again, that's Jerry Hardison. So work that up to the 28-yard line. A 10-2 game, just a few minutes now into this third quarter. We get 12 yards for Carlos Alvarez, his first catch of the season. Incomplete there, so second down. And we turned it over. Baltimore has the ball. It says they committed a penalty, but they must have picked it off and then had a penalty after the fact, because they now have the football, and they're now at our 20-yard line, incomplete there on first down, so second and 10. They get 11 yards there on a pass for Keaton Mitchell, first and goal inside the 10-yard line. 2 yards there on the ground. Third and goal now at the 3 or 4 yard pass there for Bateman. We'll see if they can hammer it home as they do. Lamar Jackson, another rushing touchdown, as now it's going to come down to a 2-point conversion, and they do get it, so we're all knotted up now, 10-all. And we'll sim a drive now for Salt Lake City again. We'll sim one more drive aside and then probably watch the remainder. We get 9 yards there on a pass for Tank Bigsby, 3rd and 4, and we do not get it. So Baltimore now definitely capturing all the momentum, but a good punt there from Cook, taking over at the 13. They get 4 yards on the ground for Mitchell. 2nd and 6, 5 yards for Mitchell now, a 3rd and short, and they do convert just barely. A fresh set now, and now just feeding Keaton Mitchell here in his revenge game as he's moving the ball well now. First down, they get 4 yards there, a pass for Keaton Mitchell, just manufacturing him on every touch pretty much. 7 yards. Now first down, penalty against the defense. 4 yards for Travis Weldon now into Snowhawks territory, incomplete. So a 3rd and 1, and they get a conversion there. 6-yard rush from Lamar Jackson up to the 40. 2-yard rush from Keaton Mitchell. Another 2-yard rush now, 3rd and 6. And we stop them short, 4th and 3 at the 32. What are they going to do? As they go for the field goal, Austin Seibert knocks it through, 49 yards, as we'll now probably watch the remainder of this game. It was once an 8-point lead, and now a 3-point deficit for our Snowhawks. No points so far in this second half of play, as Dre Patton on the return there, working it to the 25-yard line. And McDonald, we'll see what we can do now. We need you to muster up a good drive. We went stagnant now, kind of like Baltimore was the entirety of the first half. They're now outgaining us 245 to 118. Not a good showing for our offense in this game. Give it now to Vince Willis, working to the outside. Up the sideline, has some space. Vince Willis across midfield as he's eventually tracked down by Roquan Smith, a gain of 26. And that's exactly the spark we needed. And now taking over in enemy territory. Tank Bigsby now checks into the game, giving Willis a rest after that long run. 4-man rush for Baltimore. As over the middle, that's for Tank Bigsby. He catches that, he fumbles, and that's right into the hands of a Baltimore Ravens defender. And what a catch there by Bigsby, but could not hang on as Kevin Charleston, one of the corners on this team, right in the opportune spot to pick it up as we turn it over again. I think that was a clean fumble. A huge hit there by Roquan Smith as Bigsby was trying to get past that, work past that leg tackle of Simpson, and then took a big hit. And Baltimore already with the lead, now with the ball, as again another big play where they can take more momentum. Now less than 9 minutes left in this Week 1 matchup from Thursday Night Football at Snowhawks Stadium. The defending Super Bowl champions looking to start this season off on the right note. Sweep there for Keaton Mitchell. He turns the corner and he gets 6 yards. 17 carries for 64 yards now for Keaton Mitchell. And they will give it to him again here, but nothing doing that time. Met by Randy Fisher and Quay Walker. And that's going to bring up a 3rd and 5 now. 5 third-down conversions for the Ravens offense. A big one here at the 39-yard line. Man in motion. Play clock winding down. Jackson takes the snap. And they're going to run into a sack there. Again, that's Calhoun. His second sack. I'm sorry, that's Walker. I thought that was Calhoun out there again. I'm still getting acclimated to this new roster, but Trayvon Walker smacking Lamar Jackson. Our edges coming up huge in this game. Taylor Goddard had a big one earlier, and now Trayvon Walker with one now. And that one more opportune because we need the lead, and for that we need the ball. Again, Jerry Hardison on the return has some space to work with, but wrapped up at the 31-yard line. 7:02 left in this game. Can Lucas McDonald, the MVP hopeful, lead us to a comeback drive here late in the 4th quarter? Starting at the 31, McDonald takes the snap. Near sideline for Drew Collins. He's kind of went quiet, but we'll take that one, a 9-yard gain. Now I think 4 catches for Drew Collins in his first career start, his 3rd year after being drafted in the 3rd round a couple years back. Now takes over his starting role in the offense. McDonald going to check that down for Tank Bigsby, and he cannot break that first tackle. You got to break the first contact there. Otherwise, you might have been better off looking at some other options down the field. Now a 3rd and short at the 40. You got to think it's 4-down territory at this spot in the game. Andrews in motion back the other way. Delay give there for Tank Bigsby, and again, he is wrapped up short as he loses some that time. Nnamdi Madubuike in on the stop, one of the top defensive linemen in the game, along there with Kyle Hamilton, the top safety in the game. And our offense has not generated much. And now again, going to have to punt is Logan Cook. A busy day for Logan Cook, as he has been cooking back there, though, living up to the name. This time all the way down to the 11 or 12-yard line. Call it the 13. And now back onto the field is the Baltimore offense, just running through Keaton Mitchell at this point. 93 total yards, I think 18 carries, a few catches, as he's really just been the feature back, not mixing in any others. Now starting here at the 13. Jackson from the shotgun, Mitchell to his left, as he will give for Mitchell. Redirects up the middle, and eventually brought down by Malik Mustafa after a 4-yard gain, as we're into the final 5 minutes now. Stay tuned after this game. We are going to sim ahead a few weeks, as we're going to pick up the pace here, looking to complete this year 6 season. 2nd and 6 now again. Jackson from the shotgun, Mitchell to his right, as he will get the give, as he finds a running lane. Stopped short of the first down, but will bring up a 3rd and inches. Quay Walker there to wrap him up, and now Salt Lake City stacking the box against this stacked front for Baltimore. And Jackson will throw it here, dropping back and met by a sack again, Randy Fisher, and make it 7 sacks now for the Salt Lake City defensive front. What a game, but it does not mean anything if we can't come away with a win. But it looks like we'll have another chance to do that. Randy Fisher inheriting a starting role on the defensive line after Ruke Ororo went elsewhere in free agency. And he has that speed strength combination, a good run stopper, but he's really developed as a power rusher as well in Baltimore. Maybe the best offensive line in all of football, and they are being exposed today. Very good coverage downfield though for Salt Lake City. Not many opportunities for Jackson to get rid of it. And hopefully we can counter with some good field position here, as Hardison breaking that first contact, but swarmed by the Ravens. But we will start at the 45, so a short field to work with. 3:39 remaining, and there are no more excuses. We got to get it going here. I mean, like 20, 30 yards, you're in borderline field goal range. McDonald, only a 3-man rush for Baltimore. Going down the field, open is Drew Collins, as that one right into the breadbasket, as he catches that one at the sideline. Now just a quick hit like that. We're now into field goal range already, but we don't want the field goal. We want the victory, And we want the late lead here, especially in our first game as defending Super Bowl champions. And that one over the middle, knocked down at the line. Bigsby to the left of McDonald will get the give, and he finds a lane, but brought down by Roquan Smith. A 4-yard gain, going to bring up 3rd and 6. Ike Makonwu, our starting right tackle, actually goes off to an injury timeout. So Taylor Decker, our swing tackle now, comes into the game. His first snap as a Snowhawk. McDonald, plenty of time to throw, but just throw it away, as that'll more than likely bring on a field goal attempt. Will Reichert now to tie it from the right hash, a 42-yard field goal, as we're unable to get more than this. And this kick is up, and the kick is good, and we're now squared up here. 3:20 remaining, week 1 of this year 6 season. The Snowhawks defending the Super Bowl, and we're trying to come out of week 1 with a victory, especially in front of the home fans. But our defense, again, going to have to come up big, as we have 7 sacks in this game. The pass rush has just tormented Lamar Jackson all day, but he'll want to get something going here. Definitely a better second half for him and the Ravens offense than it was in the first half. Now at getting us 243 to 193. Starting here at the 26. Bateman there, the man in motion as they fake it. Jackson now going down the field, and that's hauled in. What a catch there at the 45, as that he had a man all over him, and that is Hobbs, the former first-round pick out of LSU, does a little back handspring, as he is all hyped up here, and for good reason. And just like us on offense that last drive, one quick hit, and they are now into enemy territory. But hopefully they can stay out of the end zone, stay even, not even a field goal at this stage of the game. Man in motion. That will go for a delay of game, so knock him back 5 to midfield. 1st and 15 now at the 50. 2:31 remaining. Again, man in motion. Lamar Jackson takes the snap. Quick one there for his man. That's caught for a 10-yard gain and bring up 2nd and 5. And that will bring on an injury timeout, maybe. And disregarded will just bring us down to the 2-minute warning. So Baltimore driving for that late go-ahead field goal, maybe even a touchdown if they can work it into the end zone. But our defense really needs to hang on strong here. They're already pretty much in field goal range. Can we get one more sack to knock them out of it? Jackson, another quick one over the middle for Rashad Bateman. And he takes that up to the 24-yard line, a 16-yard gain. As now they're probably just going to try and run this clock and set up a game-winning field goal. 90 seconds remaining. First down for Baltimore. Another give. And that will be a short gain, 1 yard. Salt Lake City calls their first timeout, as we got to get 2 more stops here without giving up a first down. And again, they go to the ground game. And again, a good stop at the line. That's Randy Fisher, again, making a big play. He has 2 sacks, making some good run stops as well. And they only get 1 yard combined on those first 2 carries, which now sets up 3rd and 9. Just 1 timeout now for the Snowhawks. 1:22 remaining here from week 1. Another give there. They do get more space, but not before being brought down short, which will bring up a 35-yard field goal now to take the late lead. No more timeouts for the Snowhawks, as Austin Seibert on again. And that kick is up, and that one is good, as Baltimore now up 16-13. And now our Snowhawks some work to do, and fast, as no more timeouts, just over a minute left in this game. A 3-point deficit, 1:15 on the clock. Can Lucas McDonald get a signature moment here as early as week 1? And that will be Jerry Hardison again on the return, but body slammed very short there, only at the 22, as we have 1:11 now left on the clock. No timeouts, and it's going to take a valiant, quick effort, maybe a miracle mixed in if we want to keep this game going. At the 22 here, McDonald takes the snap. Baltimore does send a blitz. I don't know why we're just swinging it out there in the field of play. We need more hits there towards the sideline, but luckily it does just go incomplete. We have not been able to really generate anything down the field, at least not in the live look-ins here. In the simming, it has been a different story, though. McDonald now over the middle, gets Drew Collins again. He gets ahead for the first down, as we got to hurry back, and that drains like 15 seconds real quick. And a quick snap now for McDonald. Another quick one over the middle, and that's for Marvin Harrison Jr., and that gets 7. But again, we got to get up there quick, and that burns more time. Now just 25 seconds remaining. We're going to burn more, putting the man in motion here. Not a good play call. And now McDonald from the pocket, try and step up and run. We'll just throw that out of bounds. Now here, 3rd and 3 at the 41. We need probably like, I don't know, 19 yards for a field goal attempt here. McDonald almost sacked there. Backside pressure was breaking in. He gets rid of it, which brings up 4th and 3. So it all comes down to this. Can we stay alive here? 13 seconds, 4th and 3 from the 41. We need a miracle, folks. McDonald backtracking over the middle, and that's going to be at the feet and incomplete, as the Baltimore Ravens will line up here in the victory formation, and they're going to start year 6 on the right note as they slay the defending Super Bowl champions with that knee. Baltimore Ravens now 1-0, and our Snowhawks fall to 0-1. We have not been used or accustomed to losing over the course of the past couple seasons, but we fall victim to that here in week 1 as our reign as Super Bowl champions starts on the wrong foot with a loss, as a look to avenge that into the next week. But it's always tough battling John Harbaugh. This Ravens team is so established. Of course, as we mentioned, going back to year 1, they did win the Super Bowl, so they're always going to be a threat, and they are the favorite in the NFC this season, as we said. So maybe this sets up a rematch for the Super Bowl this season, and maybe we can avenge this loss in that potential matchup, as that is what a lot of the critics and analysts are saying. They're saying Super Bowl 64 is going to be Salt Lake City and Baltimore, but hopefully if that's the case, we can have a much better showing because our offense just did not bring it in this game. It's also worth noting we did have to replace both coordinators, so there might be some growing pains there, but Lamar Jackson went 20 out of 32, 16 passing, 1 interception on that opening drive to Dakota Michaels. Lucas McDonald, not a good showing here, 16 for 34, 47%, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. Running the rock, we really didn't bring it either. Tank Bigsby, 11 out of 20. He also fumbled on a catch, but Vince Willis had 3 out of 25. At that long of 26 that we witnessed, Manny Reynolds suffered a safety in this game, 2 for 2. McDonald just 11 rushing yards. We need that to be a little bit higher if our offense is going to be successful. Harrison Jr. electrified our team on that one drive, 5 for 64, 1 touchdown. Drew Collins identical, 5 for 64, just without the touchdown. One of those would have been the difference in this game. Tank Bigsby had 3 out of 20. Mark Andrews 2 for 9. Carlos Alvarez just 1 catch for 12 yards in this game. Defensively, Quay Walker led with 12 tackles. Nathan Scruggs with 11, and Randy Fisher with 8. 5 tackles for loss. Trayvon Walker 4 tackles for loss, a sack and a half. Fisher had 2 sacks. And again, this was going up against one of the best offensive lines in football. So I don't know why we had so much production on that front. Maybe they had more offensive plays than us. I don't really know. But still, that's such a huge disparity. But I mean, our defensive line is pretty dominant, especially with the addition of Trayvon Walker. But Calhoun, Goddard, Sexton all added a sack as well. A half sack there for Quay Walker. 1 interception for Dakota Michaels, 2 pass deflections for Nathan Scruggs. Malik Mustafa, 1 pass deflection. We'll likely have Matthew Torrance back and starting at strong safety next week. Will record hit both field goals. Logan Cook, 6 punts in this game for a 52.1 yard average. That is just pretty insane. Both punters really brung it today. And of course, Tommy Townsend had 2 punts pinned inside the 2, one of which led to a safety. So really the difference in this game you could also attribute to the punter Tommy Townsend, because special teams definitely does matter. And now we also get a notification that Ike Mekonwu is injured. He will not be back for 5 weeks with a dislocated hip. So just like that, we suffer a huge blow to the offensive line. I mentioned Taylor Decker. We signed him in preseason to be our swing tackle, as we're looking for a more experienced upgrade in that spot. So he's now going to be thrusted into a starting role just like that after being a free agent just a week or 2 ago, as we'll now advance into week 2, where we're going to match up here against the Atlanta Falcons. Last year in the draft, they drafted Deshaun Monteau, a stud quarterback who many compare to Michael Vick. We actually got a live look in last year early on in the season against him. We did win that game, but he did play quite well, especially there in the second half. But he's now up to an 86 overall superstar, one of the best scrambling quarterbacks in the game, up to 94 speed with 91 acceleration, just a little bit more athletic there than our very own Lucas McDonald with 92 throw power. Very good medium and short accuracy, good under pressure and break sack as well, as he's set to be one of the best quarterbacks over the course of this franchise if we did stick it out that long. But like I said, we're going to sim ahead now through the next couple weeks as we try to pick up the pace here in this year 6 season. So now we'll just get right into it. We'll sim ahead here, our first road game of the season. Again, we're on Thursday Night Football, another primetime game to start, and hopefully we can handle business against the Falcons for our first win in this defense of the Super Bowl championship. And we actually take the loss again. We lose 27-21, and not a good start to this year 6 season. Maybe a little bit of a Super Bowl slump. Falcons outgained us 399 to 302, as Lucas McDonald outdueled by Deshaun Montague. 2 touchdown passes for him. McDonald had 1 and an interception, 267 passing, completed 63%. Looking at the rushing stats, 20 yards rushing, 2 touchdown runs for Lucas McDonald, but Tank Bigsby on the ground again struggles. 12 yards on 10 carries. that is just not going to get it done. Marvin Harrison Jr., 8 for 80. Drew Collins, again, 5 for 64. I want to say that's exactly what he had in week 1 this time, a touchdown. Carlos Alvarez, 4 for 48. Mark Andrews, 3 for 40. Tank Bigsby at least had some decent production in the passing game, 4 for 35 defensively. Quay Walker, Jerry Sexton tied with 7 tackles. Matthew Torrance in his debut, his 5th NFL season, now 6 tackles, a tackle for loss. We had 2 from Trayvon Walker, another sack for him, and we only had 1 sack in this game, no interceptions, and Will Reichert missed his only field goal attempt, that one coming from beyond 50 yards. So an 0-2 start now for our Salt Lake City Snowhawks. Again, we were without starting right tackle Ike McConwu, a big hit to our team, but still we should have handled business there against the Falcons, and now a road matchup against the New York Giants, a team that missed the playoffs last season. And we'll finish things out in this episode by simming a home matchup against the Minnesota Vikings. Hopefully we can put together back-to-back wins and at least split our first 4 at this point, and then look at this, a Monday Night Football game to open division play against the San Francisco 49ers, and then the very next week we're on the road against the Los Angeles Rams. So 2 more primetime games. 4 out of our first 6 games here to start year 6 are all on primetime, as we fall in the first 2 here, 16-13 to the Ravens, and now 27-21 to the Falcons. And we do have some players to upgrade, so we'll take a look at that, as hopefully we're getting some good progression at this point despite losing our first 2 games. Jerry Sexton, our captain at linebacker, now set for an upgrade. We'll just go field general and try and get him as a scheme fit, but we do not get that. And he's actually out this week against the Giants, a shoulder strain. So another key player we're going to be without in this next week against the Giants. Now Dale Gilmore, our starting free safety, already that zone archetype. 81 hit power, pretty good for a zone archetype. We'll just go right back into hybrid and try and get maybe man coverage boosted a little bit. Does get 4 upgrades, +2 for man, zone, and play rec, +1 for pursuit. We'll take that. And now LaRon Brown, our rookie defensive tackle out of Alabama, 3rd-round pick, showed up in the preseason. 67 block shed, 74 finesse move, so already a pretty good speed rusher, but we might be able to get him as a scheme fit if we just play into that run stopper a little bit. Not a scheme fit, but he does go up 2 overall points, up to a 72 now. Gets +2 finesse move, +3 for tackle, as he's now up to a 72 speed rusher. So I don't know if we're ever going to get him to that run stopper archetype. And now Dre Patton, one of our explosive returners on the team, along with Jerry Hardison. Patton, a draft pick from last year, he from Butler. So we might just go into that deep route, keep playing, or maybe playmaker. He is a returner, so we'll play into the skills when he has the ball in his hands and put up that playmaker. A bunch of upgrades here, +2 for vision, catching, deep route, +3 for short route. I don't know if Patton's ever going to contribute really as a receiver, but he's going to get a lot of chances to do so as a returner. And before we advance through week 3, it's now time to set our regional focus scouting, as we'll get our first look at this 2030 NFL draft class. And we'll just go by region here, starting in the western states. And this region features Alex Reedy, a pass rusher out of USC, along with Clyde Wilford, 2 top 5 prospects, both speed rushers. They have an offensive tackle here, Bradley Moore, one of the best in the NFL draft. Another couple outside linebackers here, and Quinn Jennings, another guy from Washington State, making up a tremendous tandem there with Clyde Wilford, and also Spencer Meredith out of Cal. Jennings is also a speed rusher, but Meredith a power rusher. Another offensive tackle here, Brad Bradley. You gotta love that name. And then a cluster here of round 1 to 2 talents, and then round 2 to 3 here, they do have a bunch of guys and some day 3 guys as well. But going by position, we're not really looking at quarterback this year. They don't have any in the region anyway. Not looking at running back either, nor wide receiver. Really looking at offensive line and pretty much everywhere on defense, but more of an emphasis on the offensive line here on offense compared to the skill positions. Nothing really here on the line. Looking at defensive end now, only a couple draft eligible guys there, nothing at defensive tackle. So it might be outside linebacker with those 2 top 5 prospects. I think 4 in the top 10 altogether, or make it 4 in the top 16 here with Meredith. And then also Quinn Jennings at 11. And whether these guys are pure pass rushers or more off-ball type linebackers, we'll definitely take a flyer on them. And then there's also a few guys here, around 3 to 4 projections that we can get some grades on. Nothing at middle linebacker. At corner, only a few guys there. And then at safety, there is nice quantity, but we're not as much in the market for safety as we are for an outside linebacker or an edge defender. So for the West, we are going to set our focus scouting at outside linebackers, get some good grades on those top rated outside linebackers. A couple guys there from Washington State, Lamar Reedy, I believe it was, or Alex Reedy out of USC. Now going over to the central region, only 1 in the top 15 altogether, only 4 with round 1 projections. A few here with round 1 to 2 projections. As when I just sort by position at quarterback, you have Richard Barkley, 6'5", 233 out of Oklahoma. He had an early draft story on him saying he was a 0-star recruit and has since found his way to Norman there playing for the Sooners and is now a star in college football. Nothing there for receiver, tight end, offensive tackle. They have a day 3 guy and then a round 1 guy, Jonathan Stewart out of Oklahoma there playing with that quarterback we were just looking at. Interior offensive line, they do have a few guys here at center, including Tom Nixon, around 1 projected center. Isaiah Hawthorne, around 2 to 3 projected center. Another one there in the 3rd to 4th round. 3 guys here at guard. Cole Edison, around 1 to 2 projections. So maybe interior offensive line here in the central region. Nothing really there at D end. Defensive tackle, a few guys, but only 1 round 1 guy at outside linebacker. Really not much, especially compared there to the West. At cornerback, they do have nice quantity here. But again, defensive backs, not really our top need. So for this region, interior offensive line, really just offensive line as a whole is maybe the one of the bigger areas we need to address going into the offseason. And there are quite a few guys at the top of the board, even though only 6 draftable altogether. And going back to cornerback, there is more quantity here, but only 2 or 3 guys there projected to go on the first 2 days of the draft, so we'll probably just go interior offensive line here for central, which is a bigger need, and it also is one of our scouts' area of expertise, so we'll get a little boost there as well. And now going over to northeast, at the top of the board here is Greg Huggins, outside linebacker out of Louisville. They have Colin White, quarterback out of Cincinnati, 6'6", 229. Figures to be one of the top quarterbacks selected. Daniel Selvey, a DN out of Notre Dame there in the top 10. Jermaine Sears, one of the top cornerbacks there out of UConn. Tavon O'Neal, 6'6", 258 outside linebacker out of Ohio State. Top offensive tackle here, Will Baker out of Notre Dame. As we now go by position, we already saw that quarterback, but again, quarterback, running back, receiver, not really areas we're going to focus on, at least in these early stages of scouting. Maybe offensive tackle with Will Baker there, but only undrafted guys elsewhere. Same story there at left guard. A few draftable guys here at right guard, but maybe not enough with all those undrafted guys elsewhere. Defensive end, 1 guy there in Selvey. Only 1 draftable guy there at D tackle. Outside linebacker, we have a few guys here. Greg Huggins, Tavon O'Neal, who we saw. 2 more day 3 guys, and out at the right side, only 2 day 3 guys as well. So probably not outside linebacker. At corner, we have Jermaine Sears, Tristan Jones, around 1 to 2 projection. Then we have 2 round 2 to 3 projections in Casey Campbell and Quincy Hendricks, with a couple guys there on day 3. So quantity-wise, cornerback probably the top position here in the Northeast, unless we go outside linebacker. But probably no shot at Greg Huggins there, a top 5 projected pick. Maybe at Tavon O'Neal, but really he'd be the only guy we're scouting because we wouldn't have much emphasis on the day 3 guys, and they really weren't deep at any other position. So I think based on quantity here in the Northeast, we will go cornerback, even though there are 4 projections here at right guard, but we're already focusing on the interior in the central. So here in the Northeast, we'll go cornerback, as we'll set that focus scouting, which now just leaves the Southeast, which is always the most stacked region. We have a 2-star scout here, Moose Bocutti, and his expertise is defensive end and tight end. So we'll keep that in mind as we look through the region. 2 top 5 guys here. The top overall prospect in the class, Brett Myers, quarterback out of Memphis, just 6 foot, 232 pounds. Quite the build there, field general, and none of the physicals really project to be all that great. Even the throw power is just good to great. See for trucking so far, but we'll see how the traits develop as Brett Myers. We'll see if he lives up to the hype as being projected the top overall player in the class. Antoine Hampton, the top offensive tackle, 4th on the overall board, 6'4", 319 out of UCF. And then also another guy here in the top 10, Damon Brown, also from UCF. So the UCF Golden Knights, quite the team with 2 guys here in the top 10. They also have Matthew Burton, a Gator, rounding at the top 10 on the overall board. Outside linebacker, Tashawn McClellan, Clemson Tiger, Robert Stoudemire, Mississippi State, maybe the top safety in the class. And the top tight end here, Cole Rich, out of South Carolina. He already had a draft story on him raving about his play so far throughout the season. And now going by position, they have 2 of the top quarterbacks in the draft. Earl Baker, the top running back in the region there out of Florida. Dominique McGee out of Auburn, maybe the top receiver in the class. Also the top tight end there, Cole Rich out of South Carolina. Antoine Hampton, the top offensive tackle. We have at right tackle, only 1 day 3 projection. On the interior, we have 2 rounded 2 projections here in Peyton Norton and Jeremy Winters. A couple day 3 guys there later on at right guard. Around 1 to 2 projection at center, just UDFA. So interior offensive line here in the Southeast looking very strong. Going over to defense, they have a bunch of draftable guys here at left end, including Matthew Burton, a top 10 guy. Joey Jones, 6'4", 266 out of Georgia. Around 2 to 3 projection here, Jason Logan. And then 2 later round projections at right end. A few more guys here, including Joaquin Campa, 6'3", 276 out of Auburn. A for power move, F finesse move. The physical projections don't look to be all that overpowering, but you do love that A power move, albeit with the F finesse move, but still defensive end looking very stacked here in the Southeast, and you can never have too many edge defenders in the rotation, so I'm looking at defensive end probably over interior offensive line, as we'll keep it going here. Defensive tackle, a few guys, one round 1 to 2 projection. Outside linebacker, we saw Tashawn McClellan at the right side, a few draftable guys there, mostly day 3 guys though. Going to cornerback, good quality and quantity here, but we already specialized in that in the Northeast, and at safety, decent class there as well, but very strong at edge, so that's where we're going to put our focus here in the Southeast as we set our final region now, and we'll be set now to advance through week 3, and hopefully we can get our first win of the season. I cannot believe we're sitting here at 0-2. I haven't been more confident to start a season before here, entering year 6, and now we're sitting at 0-2, and we actually also had a practice squad player sign. That was Manny Reynolds, who signs with the Pittsburgh Steelers. We relegated him to the practice squad because Ike Emekanu was injured, which forced us to bring up Joey Sykes from the practice squad, pretty much swapped places with Manny Reynolds, but Reynolds does not even survive a week as he signs with the Pittsburgh Steelers. We drafted Reynolds in the 6th round last year. He was a projected undrafted free agent, but we liked the numbers. We liked his production there at Cal, and even last year he rushed for 100 yards on 30 carries even, but last week had a safety, or that was actually week 1 against the Ravens, and we thought he would survive on our practice squad, but not the case. But we do wish him the best of luck there with the Pittsburgh Steelers, as now we're set to visit the New York Giants. Both of these teams at 0-2. The Giants projected to finish towards the bottom of the conference, and here we are even with them as we're now advancing into week 4. Can we get our first win of the season? And we do in convincing fashion. I saw the score is 42-17. That is exactly what the doctor ordered, as we blew out the Giants, took a 21-3 lead into halftime and did not look back, outgained them 460-300. No turnovers for either side in this game. Lucas McDonald 4 touchdown passes, threw for 297 and completed 83% of his passes. Definitely needed that rebound performance. Glenn Tyson, a decent game of his own. Now his 4th season as an NFL quarterback, a former 1st or 2nd round pick out of Notre Dame. I forget exactly where he was drafted, but he had a clean game throwing the ball. Tank Bigsby, this is exactly what he needed after he was bottled up the first 2 weeks. He goes for 141 on 15 carries, a touchdown, and had a long of 72 in this game. Glenn Tyson scrambling for the Giants had 48. Dimitri Dupree, their starting running back, had 7 for 30, and our 4th round pick, Dwayne Gordon, got his first taste of NFL action here in the regular season. 3 carries for 12 yards. And Vince Willis 4 carries for 2 yards, but he did have a touchdown on the ground, and receiving Malik Neighbors had 7 for 95. Our very own Carlos Alvarez 5 for 91, his first touchdown, and Marvin Harrison 9 for 83, 2 touchdowns, and Drew Collins 6 for 75, a touchdown. So all our receivers there contributing. Each had at least 5 catches, 75 yards, and a touchdown, as McDonald really spreading the ball out. Even Mark Andrews had 4 catches in this game as well, and I see Roosevelt Howell had his first catch for 6 yards. Hopefully we can get him going a little bit more as we go on through the season. Dexter Lawrence paved the way for the Giants defense with 2 TFLs. Trayvon Walker 2 more sacks in this game. I think he's now up to like 5 or 6 now already on the season. Taylor Goddard a sack and a half. Joey Bosa in a revenge game against the Snowhawks. He gets a sack, I think his 2nd season now with the Giants. Randy Fisher another sack, his 3rd now already on the season. Interceptions, nothing there. There's no turnovers in this game. Harrison Butker hit the only field goal in this game. Kick returns 1 for 21 there for Dre Patton, and punt returns 2 for 12 for Jerry Hardison, as our Snowhawks pick up our first win of the season, now 1-2, and we'll close out this episode with a home game against the Minnesota Vikings, last year's NFC North champions, as they made it as far as the divisional round of the NFL playoffs. And next episode we'll pick it up here Monday Night Football against the 49ers, and then a road game on Sunday Night Football against the Rams, as we'll have a little doubleheader action in the next episode. But before that, let's get to 500 here and split these 4 games to start the season. And we do have some player upgrades to manage again here, as we'll check these and maximize our product we put out onto the field in week 4, starting here with Marvin Harrison Jr., a very hot start to the season, kind of up and down over the past few years, especially once Carlos Alvarez was introduced into the fold, but still one of the best receivers in all of football, 90s across the board, and it really doesn't matter what you choose to progress at this point, an X-Factor wide receiver. We'll just keep playing into that deep threat, I guess, as we look to stretch the field a little bit more as this offense evolves. We get +2 there for catching traffic, +1 there for a bunch of other traits. Marvin Harrison Jr. now a 93 overall deep threat slot receiver, X-Factor, and just 27 years old. the all-time leading receiver right now in Snowhawks history. And now Joey Bost, our first draft pick in this past draft class. We traded down from 32 all the way down to 51 overall. And how fitting he just happens to wear number 51. Agile offensive lineman, was pretty pro-ready from the start, but you see some blemishes there for the run blocking and pass block power each at 73, and that run block power at 70. So we do have to focus on just putting those ratings up a bit, as those are clear weaknesses that can be exposed. So we'll go into power, even though that doesn't necessarily give them an overall boost, but we need those power traits to go up a little bit. Only gets +2 there for pass block power, so the run block power is still there at 70, still a 73 overall run blocker, but with that hidden development, going to have a decent development trait, at least at star, so can see some good progression as we go along here in his rookie season, which now brings us to Roosevelt Howell, our second pick from this past draft. He was drafted in the early 3rd round, if I recall correctly, a 75 overall possession tight end. Was really hoping he would have hidden development, but just normal dev. But either way, a very good football player. 6'6", 275 out of Ohio State, 83 speed, 85 acceleration, 81 catching, 80 catch in traffic. So the catching traits are already pretty good. 67 as a run blocker, good to start as a rookie. So I think we'll just keep buying into that possession tight end archetype. Hopefully he gets some blocking increases here as well, as we get 4 skill improvements, but +2 catch and traffic and catching, which were already his main traits, +1 for medium route and release. So not what we're looking for there, with upgrades there to Roosevelt Howell. Maybe just go straight into blocking next time. And now Kyle Calhoun, a very good start to his season after making the roster after a low-risk free agent signing prior to the NFL draft. 77 power move with 68 finesse, 67 block shed. So not overpowering, but 91 acceleration. Very good coming off the edge. A really good first step here from Kyle Calhoun. But we'll try and round out his skill set a little bit, go into run stopper, and try and get that block shed up, as he does go up to a 72 overall with a morale boost, I believe. +3 for block shed. And he is working well into our rotation, working predominantly behind Trayvon Walker. And here is the other man who has worked into the rotation on that left side of the defensive line, and Dom Gilmore, now his 4th season, former 5th round pick out of UTEP, with 84 power moves, 78 block shed. So the play trait's a little bit better than Calhoun, but Calhoun has been a little bit more productive on the field, but only 62 play rec for Gilmore. That has to increase, but why not? We'll just keep going into that power move, because the block shed is pretty good, and that power move is going to be among the highest, I think, in the NFL, depending on what we get here. Just +2, so that is now up to 86. Very good there with 80 speed, only 72 strength, but I like him as a depth guy. Definitely has a trump card there with that power movement. We're going to round things out here with Chris Woodard, our 3rd string quarterback now that we have signed Sam Darnold, and he absolutely showed out in the preseason. Chris Woodard, I think we'll just keep going into field general and round out those accuracy ratings, as he is a very solid quarterback now, up to 70 overall, but now on the final year of his rookie contract. We'll see how much he wants to potentially come back as a reserve quarterback on this team, or maybe he seeks a job elsewhere and maybe battles for a backup spot with another team. But now here to round out the episode, week 4, as we're hosting the 1-2 Minnesota Vikings. Our Snowhawks also 1-2, as we're looking to split the first 4 in this year 6 season. What is the verdict against the Vikings that we just barely win a 27-24 victory, as we put together back-to-back wins here to get back on the right track? A field goal margin of victory here over the Vikings, and we rallied there in the 4th quarter. We entered trailing 17-10, but able to pull out the 27-24 victory. We were +2 in the turnover battle and outgained the Vikings 329-291. Passing Lucas McDonald 1 touchdown, no interceptions, and he completed 80%. J.J. McCarthy still the quarterback here for Minnesota. He threw a couple picks, but also 3 touchdown passes, rushing the rock. Tank Bigsby came back down to earth a little bit from last week. 17 for 58, another touchdown for him. Zach Charbonnet, now a Viking, 14 for 33, held to under 2.5 per rush. McDonald, his first rushing touchdown of the season. McCarthy also added 21 rushing yards of his own, and he was airing it out to Jordan Addison. 7 catches for 110, a touchdown. Drew Collins led our team in receiving yards this week, 4 for 59. Alvarez, 5 for 51. TJ Hawkinson still the tight end. Skyler Goddard, a former top pick for the Vikings. Mark Andrews, his first touchdown, 4 for 38. Marvin Harrison Jr. held in check a little bit more this week, 3 for 37. Bigsby, another 3 catches for him. Vince Wills had a 22-yard catch, and Justin Jefferson held in check, 3 for 21. Also did have a touchdown catch, but when you can limit him to just 3 catches for 21 yards, you'll take that. Jerry Sexton 10 tackles as he returned this week after missing last week's game due to a shoulder strain. 2 tackles for loss for Byron Stanford led the Vikings, 2 from Caleb Patton. Now going over to sacks, we had 1 from Sexton, 1 from Quay Walker, our linebackers getting after the quarterback. And the Vikings had 2 of their own. Joe McGee, a first-round pick from last year, D tackle out of Wisconsin, and also James Terry, 6'2", 355, as they have a very good defensive tackle tandem. And not only were Sexton and Walker in on sacks, they each had an interception as well, as our linebackers making a huge impact in this game, really the difference. And Walker also had a pass deflection. Now go over to kicking. Will record 2 for 2. Along with 41, Jake Elliott hit from 55 in this game. Now kicking here for the Vikings. Logan Cook over 100 yards on 2 punts, had 1 inside the 20. No kick returns for our Snowhawks. 1 punt return there, 9 yards for Jerry Hardison, as we'll finish this episode at 2-2. Good rebound there after back-to-back losses to start. And next time out, we're going to take on the San Francisco 49ers on Monday Night Football. And then we'll be on Sunday Night Football, a road test against the Los Angeles Rams. And I believe both these teams undefeated, or they're at least undefeated going into week 4, although I'm not sure how they fared. We can check the schedule real quick, and the Rams are 4-0 at this point. Back-to-back big wins over the Seahawks and Colts, and now for the 49ers, our next week opponent. And they are 3-1, their first loss now against the Houston Texans. And they had slim victories against the Jags by 3, against the Giants by 6, and against the Eagles by just 2 back in week 1. But this is where I'm going to leave, folks. Thank you so much for watching. It was a rough start there in week 1 as we fell to the Baltimore Ravens, only to fall in the following week to the Atlanta Falcons. And next week it gets much tougher against the San Francisco 49ers, followed by a matchup against the Los Angeles Rams, as we make up 3 of the best teams in all of the NFL, and I believe the best division in all of football, the NFC West, as all 4 teams are capable of making the postseason. We see the 49ers with Fred Warner, Nick Bosa, and Brock Purdy, all 97 overall or better, and also Talanoa Hufanga, who just signed a contract extension to stay here in San Francisco. Come back next episode because it's really going to declare what this early season vibe really is for the Snowhawks, if we can rise up to the occasion and take down these tough divisional opponents, or if we get flashbacks to the opening weeks where we suffered back-to-back losses in the start of this Super Bowl title defense in this year 6 final run season. But as always, everybody, it's been real and be well. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.